Good evening, everyone. I know it's the fag end of the session, but I have been a sales guy throughout my life, so I will take some mileage out of it, right? I have two founders sitting here. One is 29 years old, and he has already raised $5 million of funding. Doesn't it deserve an applause from all of you? Come on, guys, little bit louder, because he's IIT Kanpur graduate. We have another founder sitting with us, Gaurav Rana. He's a co-founder of Yatri Card. Already raised $3 million. So I think he deserves an applause. And you know what is encouraging is that they have raised funding when everybody was struggling with the funding, right? So I will try and keep this session very, very interactive, and I will keep it very, very crisp, and I will try to make it much more interesting. Believe me, you will probably when I'm going to ask the questions to them, then probably will talk straight to the point. So okay, guys. First of all, welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Any one of you can start, and then probably.
I don't think fundraising मुश्किल है, but I believe market में पैसा उड़ता है, catch करने वाला चाहिए, right?
I think fundraising बहुत मुश्किल है, but बहुत मजा आता है. I mean, like you learn a lot in the process. That is something which I'll add. I think I don't think I've learned anything in any other process rather than raising money. I think that teaches you a lot about the business, your perspective, everything. But it's tough.
Agree.
Great. So we have different perspective here, and I think it's always welcome. So Kushang, probably I will ask from you first. You raised till now you have already raised $5 million, and you are into this business from last 4 years now, approximately 4.5 years. So how difficult this process was? Probably some of the major learning or experiences which you talk, or probably some example when VC asked you difficult questions and you were not able to answer them properly. So probably something which you can share with the audience here right now.
Sure. Thanks. First of all, thanks, Ganesh. I think we couldn't get the chance to say thank you to you for inviting us here. I think from the beginning, I would say startup as a journey is a mix of highs and lows, right? When it starts, it's very exciting. You are gelling up a team. You have just found the eureka moment, and you just want to ride upon it. As you hit the market and get your first check, that gives you a great validation. But trust me, that's the beginning of a journey, right? And after that, when you hit the market with your go-to-market product, the PMF stage is the most crucial and the most difficult part of the journey. Stitching a team with the first check which you have garnered, जहाँ पूरे time sales कर रहे होते हो, for people to join your team, because money आपके पास hardly कुछ होता है, क्योंकि वो तो GTM में लग चुका है, देने के लिए बस hope है, right? So that is something which is a very, very interesting, difficult and curating part of the business, right? Post that, you start interacting with seed stage, pre-seed, post-seed stage investors, and the question starts becoming more towards business, how you are going to scale it, what's your vision. Vision evolves at least 100 times a day, right? But especially in the early stages, as you get clarity, it starts stabilizing, you get your mission statements right and all that. But I think initially it's pretty much the white space with which a founder starts, and it starts narrowing down in the process, right? So that's the beginning of the journey. But then the tricky question starts when the fund analyst asks you, what is your customer cohort? Why is it dropping, right? Why is the operations cost not up to the unit economics which you have showed in the previous slide, right? So things like that, when it starts getting into the business line, which a lot of time VCs don't understand because they are not doing the business we are, right? So those are the tricky lines where it gets tougher, it gets interesting on the both sides, right? I think Gaurav can add to this.
I think आपने सब तो बता दिया.
But I think, is it really okay VCs not understanding you? Because you said that VCs might not understand what the
Basically,
point is.
not every VC. Right? There is a category of VCs as well. Like for example, जैसे wannabe entrepreneurs होते हैं, ऐसे wannabe investors भी हैं market में, और they ask you question like which you can't even answer. For example, कि कि मैं एक वीसी पिच कर रहा था, तो माई वाइफ वॉज विद मी, राइट, शी इज़ माई को फाउंडर. सो दैट वीसी टोल्ड मी कि वी कांट इन्वेस्ट ऑन यू. मतलब वाई? तो अब मियाँ बीबी पार्टनर्स हो, राइट, और 100% इक्विटी आपके पास है, राइट. सो अब इस पर आप क्या आंसर दोगे, राइट. So, or when you find a mature VC who understand ecosystem very well, right, who invested in multiple startups, right, they understand the things because they know that there is a unicorns in the market available who built by spouse partners, right. So depends on VC to VC, investor to investors.
So Kushang, you said hope is something which you have to give it to the prospective employees, right? So I remember Sushant Rajput ki ad yaad aa gayi, where he talks big about dreams and all. I don't know which ad it was, but he talks about it that I cannot pay you this much and that. But nice. So although we understand the challenges and how difficult it is, but one line from you, Kushang, from you, Gaurav, that how to make it easy. Probably one line, not I don't probably because obviously it will have a lot more detail and it needs a detailed and in-depth analysis. But probably one thing which you think that this is the part of this thing that which will make this, getting an investor on board will make it easy. Any thoughts on that?
I think one line would be to get more clarity about your own business, right? So if you're clear about your business, to convey the same in Excel sheets, in decks and in presentations, it's very, very simple, right? So while, clarity could be execution, clarity could be strategy, and it has to be a mix of both as well in the long term, right? So that is something which if you can crunch that down into 2 or 3 metrics, and you can convey the same that these 3 things if I hit is the point at which we hit the point of inflection. That's how you can actually explain a fundraising journey in a very, very simple manner.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with Kushang. But when you raise fund, right? So especially entrepreneurs is very emotional with their idea and startups, right? If some VC and investor, every investor have their own kind of set of thesis, right? So जो वो सुनना चाहते हैं, आपको वो समझना पड़ेगा वो सुनना क्या चाहते हैं, राइट? तो देयर इज अ सेट ऑफ सिंपल प्रैक्टिस. फॉर एग्जांपल यू पिच टू इन्वेस्टर, राइट? सम इन्वेस्टर टोल्ड यू कि यार ये ऐसा नहीं ऐसा होना चाहिए, तो पीपल इग्नोर, राइट? एंटरप्रेन्योर इग्नोर बोलते हैं नहीं यार दिस इज माय आइडिया, राइट? आई नो बेटर देन दैट VC, right? But what I believe or what I practice in my last 3 startups, I note down every question from every VC and from every pitch, right? और जब आप देखोगे ना एंड में आके आपने मान लो आपने 15, 20 and 30 VCs को पिच करा, उसके बाद देखोगे कि सबका क्वेश्चन सेम ही है पर पूछने का तरीका अलग अलग है, राइट? सो लाइक कुशांग मेंशन कि आपको सबसे पहले अपने आप को जानना पड़ेगा, अपने आइडिया को पता करना पड़ेगा कि करना क्या है, राइट? और दैट्स व्हाट दे वांट टू आस्क, राइट? बस यू हैव टू टोल्ड देम इन देयर लैंग्वेज, नॉट योर.
Correct. Nice. So I think one question probably what I should have asked you guys earlier कि फंडिंग विंटर्स है क्या? मतलब ये क्या ठंड ज़्यादा पड़ रही है, पड़ेगी, पड़ चुकी है या और लंबी पड़ेगी और कब तक पड़ेगी? मतलब आई रिमेंबर नेटफ्लिक्स पता नहीं किसी सीरीज आता था विंटर्स इज कमिंग समथिंग लाइक दैट. आई थिंक दैट्स वेयर दिस फंडिंग विंटर हैज कम. But what's your thought? Do you really think that in your own setup or probably the ecosystem in which you guys operate, you ever really think that this is really funding winters? That's point number 1. And do you really think this is going to be prolonged enough that many would probably, die in the process? That's probably this is what I would like to ask.
So if I go first, so I think funding winter कुछ नहीं है. It's the time in the economy or in the ecosystem where right business models are appreciated, right? Any business which is generating enough cash at the bottom, spending less on acquisition is not giving revenue hopes, right? Rather, is giving revenue, is being appreciated in the market, right? So उनके लिए पैसा available है. Dry powder is at the all-time high, right? You come from the fintech space, you know better. But cash is available. I have, I think the topic is about talking about challenges. So I think I mentioned when we last met also, we have raised money when GST happened, we have raised money in COVID, we have raised money in recession twice, right? So I think recession होता तो मेरे को लगता है मेरे लिए वैसा मिल जाएगा आसानी से मार्केट में, क्योंकि कुछ stories नहीं बिक रही है, business बिक रहे हैं. So that's how I look at it at least.
True. There's nothing like winter season. It's just market correction, nothing much.
So in all, what you guys saying is that if you have a business which is foundationally very, very strong, irrespective funding is there or not, either winter, summer, spring or whatever it is, you can still get funding. This is what the point is.
Winter में तो पैसा नहीं मिलता है, सब VC छुट्टी पे चले जाते हैं.
Okay, great. So one more question which we get from a lot of early startup guys is that how much should we really dilute? Because that's a question and that needs a lot of deliberation also from the founder's perspective. Another challenge is that not every founder is skilled enough or probably equipped enough to understand this kind of a question or probably this kind of a challenge, which sometimes because So what do you think that probably what should be the right? I would not say right. What should be the optimum level of dilution which they should be in a probably early or pre-seed kind of a stage?
Sure. So while this is an important question for the founders, I think it's an equally important question for angel investors. And I'll just like to use this platform because I've raised a lot of money from a lot of angels across the country from different parts. So sometimes, the first incoming investor doesn't act like an angel. They try to squeeze you because they are the first partners, they might give you the best GTM and all that. But it is very, very important to value the startup early, right? And maybe just give the benefit of doubt to the startup, because if that guy succeeds with the right equity at the right time, then you're going to make much more money than what you're going to squeeze him and he ends up not raising money. So the problem is that, so today at a late stage, I will not call myself a late stage, still or early stage, but at Series A, Series B level, if you're not left with 60-70% or 55 to 60% of the company, then the question becomes that one big investor can come, and if you're doing good business, he can just lobby and take the business from you. I would not like to take examples, but we know what happened at one of the unicorns, right? So things like that can happen, and for that control is seeked, and investors or good investors, future investors don't want control to go to other investors. They want it in the hand of the guy they have invested in, who are the founders, right? So dilution is critical for both angel investors, first investors and the entrepreneur. If I have to answer your question, I think if you are raising a first check, you should not dilute more than 7 to 10%, depending on the kind of money you are raising. If you want to benchmark, YC is a good benchmark. You can use that as a model. 200k at 7.5%, that could be a good start when you are starting up, or raise a safe round or raise a convertible round early on. When an institutional comes, let him value, he knows his job better than other players in the market. So yeah, that will be my 2 cents on valuation.
I think very detailed answer, कुछ बचा नहीं है. But what I believe in early stage you should dilute around 10 to 15%. Along with it would be always great if you will do convertible note, right? Because when you do convertible note or CCPS, right, उस केस में discussion खत्म हो जाता है valuation का, right? And in India generally angels don't want to do CCPS and convertible note. But when you find a mature investor, they will be happy to do. Right, because in our first round we did the same, right, and you got chance to prove yourself, right.
So I remember once I was talking to one of the funded startup, and this is a very interesting example because he came out of the round and somehow I was standing in front of him. I said, "How did it go?" So he said, "यार ये angel investor नहीं थे." मैं क्यों? कहते डेविल्स इन्वेस्टर थे. Because probably they asked too much of equity from them.
On that note, Ganesh, I just want to add one thing. So even in tough markets, reacting to your previous question, CCDs are the best instrument to use. Because in tough markets, people will squeeze you for valuations. Right? So you use convertible as an instrument even in large raises. Right? That works.
So one more question probably from the very initial stage of startups, like because when you are running a startup or a business, you are generally confused which VC to connect, how to connect, whether he will really understand my business or not, because that's a very confusing stage. All of us has gone through this particular stage, right? This is not something new for all of us. But then what do you think that how should we really zero in to which investor to meet, which VC to meet, or probably which angel investor to meet? So probably Gaurav, any thoughts on this first?
Actually, in this era, every person, whether it is, VC or entrepreneurs, everyone is a salesperson, right? So when you meet, experience with them, right? That's the best way to find a, right VC. Along with, you have to, know strategically in early stage, especially, you have to choose investor who can help you strategically, because more than only money is can't give you a success, right? When you find an investor who can give you money plus strategic support, that will be gold for you, right?
Kushang, your thoughts?
So if I have to add to that, I think there are 2 points, right, and both are relevant. One is that if you don't have a choice, you don't have a choice, right? And that is the case a lot of the times in the market. And I think that time take the money, right? Because for entrepreneurs, you optimize for survival, and the guy who survives the longest wins, right? And money is critical, right, to survive. So first of all, you should definitely take money if you don't have options. Second, if you have options and you have time, then as Gaurav suggested, you should definitely look at the quality of money you are taking, right? Now, there are 2-3 qualities which comes with it. If it's a VC fund and they have a strong thesis, right? That's a good fund to work with because they will shape the business with you. If it's a VC fund and they don't have any thesis, right? Now that's a financial investor. You should not have expectations of strategic input, and you should not give board seats to such investment groups. So I mean, like, that's how you can judge it. And then if you can do due diligence from fellow founders, that's always a value add, right? And that's why I think Surge as a program, YC as a program, SOHP as a program, all of these are cults because founder tribe is very strong.
So what interesting is that due to the kind of the nature of my business, right, I meet a lot of startups, either funded, not funded, or probably just incubation center, right, incubating the ideas and all. Now you took name of YC, right? You would be surprised to know, Kushang, that 90% of them are not aware of YC. Yeah, so I think that's something on which people really need to work. Okay, so probably last question, and I will keep it kind of an open where, so you kind of briefly touched upon it. So probably Gaurav, if you can ask you कि एक confused startup, startup founder के लिए या co-founder के लिए fund raise करना है या नहीं, सबसे difficult question ये है. अब उसको quickly, क्योंकि अनुराधा मैम आगे सामने उन्होंने हमें भगा देना है यहाँ से, so quickly we'll have to answer कि how to probably strategically eradicate this question if you really have to raise fund or not. What do you think?
I strongly believe you have to raise fund, whenever you get chance to raise, right? And मैं पुराने वाले question में add on करूँगा, there's 3 kind of investor. One is believers, right? And second is spreadsheet वाला, again. And third one is passionate investor who just listen your idea and बोले यार चल भाई यही बनेगा unicorn में invest करते हैं.
आग लगा दो.
आग लगा दो. So you have to choose believer one, because he's the one who don't putting money on your idea, on your projections or something. He's putting money on you, right? That's the right investor in early stage, right? And raising money is like oxygen nowadays, right?
मैं morphine बोलता हूँ ऐसे. For me it's like morphine and cocaine.
Exactly. So you need that, because startup is like you have to dive in ocean, right? और आपको अंदर जाना और जितनी ज़्यादा अंदर जाना है, right? उतनी और ज़्यादा ऑक्सीजन आपको चाहिए, right? So first, when you evaluate your idea and startup, you have to calculate, कि कितना नीचे आपको जाना है, कितनी dive आपको मारनी है. और when you raise funds, you have to raise calculative funds. ऐसा नहीं है कि जैसे I did my one mistake in my previous startup. I got chance to raise $2 million, right? This is my third startup basically. So in $2 million, because we were into brick and mortar business model, or we were not able to raise. जैसे कुशांग ने अभी मेंशन करा कि जब ऐसी फंसी पड़ती है तो founders raise कर लेता है, because if you don't have chance, you don't have chance, right? So we diluted 46% of our company. और that was the biggest mistake I have done, right? Because मैंने अपनी पूरी कंपनी दे दी उसके अंदर. So you have to calculate कि किस स्टेज पे आपको कितना पैसा चाहिए, which is very important, right? If you know that numbers, you have to raise continuously.
Kushang, final thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I'll just quickly add. So if you're confused, right? I would suggest the framework of looking at the opportunity, how big the opportunity is, right? So I think confusion को eradicate करने के लिए हमेशा opportunity analysis करो. I mean like if it's a white space, no player is there, go raise money, try it, right? If it is a crowded space, you are already seeing competition, you think you can execute better, that's not the right space to enter with a confused mindset because it's all about execution, right? So opportunity evaluation is very critical. If you have the right team, you feel that you can execute better. That is also, Zepto happened in a crowded market, right? So the whole category was created. So you have to look at those opportunities in a confused mindset, whether to raise money or not, because money is the obligation at the end of the day, right? So.
Great. So thank you very much, both of you guys. I think it was insightful for at least for me, and I'm sure for others also. So thank you once again. Thank you.